Wait, what? So this happened. I'm Rachel Velis, and this is the podcast Hell is Not the End, although it feels like just the beginning sometimes. Is anything really the end, though? This podcast is meant to explore the limitless possibilities of one's own soul. Why do people do bad things? Why are there countless happenings beyond understanding? Why, when we are cautioned not to do something, do we just do it anyway? The definition of curiosity, a strong desire to know or learn something. There you have it. I will curiously explore why. Hell is not the end. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode. We're calling this the Men in Black conspiracy episode. And we're with our very special guest, Brown.
Hello.
Hey, Brown.
I've returned after the black helicopters. That was
The Black Chopper episode.
Black choppers, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that was a fun one. Now I'm back. I'll be back every 20 episodes.
Right? Yeah. So, anyways, the Men in Black stuff. Why on earth does this interest you?
Well, this topic interests me because it's all very mysterious. It's all shrouded in mystery. We don't know their motives, why they're here, or what they really truly want.
They're very hush hush about it.
Yeah, they're very hush hush.
I know. I found it funny that I said out loud, why on earth does this interest you? Because we're not really only talking about Earth.
Maybe not. Maybe not. This might not be something of Earth.
Okay, so what was that? What's the first incident that you could find?
So, the first incident... Well, first I'll start out by saying the Men in Black were only spotted in the U.S., and the earliest one was in 1947 by...
Oh, so you're saying they were only spotted in the States,
Yes.
not like outside of the United States?
Yes,
Okay.
only inside the good old U.S. of A. On Maury Island in Washington. I said it right this time.
You did.
I'm proud of myself.
Good job.
Harold Dahl, him, his dog, and his son on a fishing boat on Maury Island, and so he was fishing, doing whatever fishermen do, fishing, I would assume,
I would assume fishing.
and he'd seen not one, not two, not five, but 6 flying saucers above him in the sky, and they had dumped waste all over his boat, and it had injured his son and killed his dog.
What kind of waste?
We don't know. Actually, the government had taken samples of it and studied it, and they had released a paper on it. I didn't read it, but it's out there somewhere.
Oh.
Wouldn't it have been interesting?
Maybe. Might have been interesting.
All right, so you don't know anything past further what kind of waste or anything like that? Okay, so let's move on.
Killed a dog and injured his son, so...
Oh, that makes me sad, though.
This was it. Yeah, it was very tragic. He was shook by this, and he had told. I would assume he would tell the police because it killed his dog and injured his son, and told his family members or whatnot. But not terribly long after, he was visited by a strange man dressed in black. This man had claimed to be a U.S. agent. He had intimate knowledge of the incident. Right after it happened, he somehow knew all the details, even the ones that Harold didn't tell people, and he claimed that Harold's family would be in danger if he had gone public with this and told everybody. So he kind of was trying to suppress this information.
So this supposed U.S. agent went to Harold and said, you can't talk about this anymore or else the rest of your family's going to be in danger.
Yes, he didn't state why they were in danger or how, but he said they were in danger.
Oh, well, that's a lot to go on.
Yeah.
You're going to be in danger, but we're not going to say why.
It's more threatening if you're vague.
Yeah,
Which
totally.
we'll get into that later.
The vagueness of the threats?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
So, what we kind of know, the general kind of rules of the Men in Black, is they show up, they find you, and it's usually after you obtain knowledge about or kind of research UFOs. If you have a sighting or just aliens in general, but typically just UFOs, So people are researching them or see them, they'll find you and they'll shut you down. They try to shut witnesses down.
Oh, so I should delete my browser history?
You might get a knock on the door pretty soon here. No, their goal is generally to suppress the information of UFOs and try to keep that out of the public's eye. And one thing I do want to add about the last story I forgot to say is that Harold later had come out and said that it all was a hoax on his part. He'd made it all up.
But you're saying that he said that after he was visited by the Man in Black.
Yes, after he was visited by the Men in Black, he said it was hoax. But then later, on his deathbed, he had said that it was not a hoax. He was pressured into saying it was a hoax by the agent. So he had come out clean again. So
That's strange, though.
So back to what we were saying. The Men in Black do try to shut down witnesses, but the ways of going about this vary from being very polite and asking nicely and kind of generally saying, hey, we don't want the people to know about this, to blatant and deadly threats to them and their families. And they get pretty intense, and there's a threat in this next story, which is pretty scary. It scared him enough to cease all his operations. Dr. Herbert Hopkins, 1955, Maine. He had an anonymous phone call about UFOs, apparently giving him too much information he shouldn't have known. Moments later, knock on the door from Men in Black. It was one single agent. He had warned to destroy all the evidence. And Dr. Herbert Hopkins was a little skeptical about all this. He thought it was kind of a prank or a hoax or something. He didn't know what to make of it. So he wasn't really kind of jazzed on the idea of getting rid of all this research he had put all this effort into. So,
well, right. I mean, he's been collecting all this evidence for like, I don't know. Well, obviously it doesn't say the time frame, but I mean, like he finally gets somewhere and then he's threatened with the evidence.
Oh yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
He doesn't want to. He's not standing down too easy. So, this Man in Black decides to kind of prove to him that he's the real deal. He says to Hopkins, he guesses, almost telepathically, that he has 2 pennies in his pocket. Hopkins reaches in, grabs one, and he's like, yeah, he has 2 in his pocket. But he says, take one, hold it in your palm. He holds it in his palm, and the Man in Black, without touching it, makes it disappear from his hand. Vanishes into thin air, gone. The penny, wasn't behind his ear. It wasn't in his pocket, just gone.
Yeah, that just makes it sound like it's in his body. It evaporated in his body.
No, he didn't find it in the toilet days later. It was just gone.
Shut up.
But right after he had done this trick, he had asked Hopkins if he knew about Barney Hill, a UFO abductee from years earlier. And let's see, I think it's Betty and Barney Hill. That's a very famous UFO story. Hopkins said that he believed Barney had died a few years earlier, but the MIB had said, Barney didn't have a heart, just like you no longer have a coin. And that's a threat right there. Very vague, very suggestive.
Very threatening.
Very threatening. So he's kind of saying, I'm going to make your heart, voodoo magic your heart out of your chest. Say goodbye, because you keep going into this.
See what I did with that penny? Your heart is next.
Yeah.
That's how that sounds.
Never ever noticed how your blood tastes like pennies?
Yours is going to taste like extra pennies.
At least one extra.
So those are the 2 stories I have. The second one got pretty intense there.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, because the first one, it's so funny though, because I just realized that the first dude's name was Harold, and then this dude's name is Herbert. Okay, a lot of So it affects people with H names, right?
Herbert Hopkins.
Yeah, he's got a double H.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I'm gonna start getting into some of the theories here. I'll start with some of the more mundane, believable ones.
Hoover's encountered them.
Yeah. Herbert Hoover. Yeah, he probably encountered him too.
Yeah. So we'll get into one of the most widely believed theories, the most easily acceptable by all the sheeple who don't believe the truth,
The sheeple.
is that they're actors and it's all a hoax, or it's just they're just normal people and people are connecting them via paranoia, and it's just all fake.
Yeah.
And it's just mass hysteria,
Yeah. Okay.
and that's you don't really need evidence behind that, aside from the
Well,
fact
if
that,
it's a theory, you don't need the evidence.
Yeah.
It's not the point. It's a theory.
Another theory that's a little bit less believable, but still pretty believable, is that they are government agents. Because one of them blatantly claimed that he was an agent,
Yeah.
the first one. And they could be working, we don't know why, but they could be working for Project Blue Book, which is the government project studying UFOs.
Right, and that's a real thing.
Yes, this is real, in real life. You can look it up right now. I don't know if it's still ongoing or they shut it down, but this is real, and like there's a lot of reoccurring characters working in that project who pop up in a lot of different stories.
What do you mean reoccurring characters? Like people doing the research, or
Yes,
people they're doing the
it's
research
like-
on?
No, people doing the research, they pop up in a lot of different stories. Like I've heard a bunch of different UFO stories that Project Blue Book dips their toes into. That you'll hear Project Blue Book a lot if you research UFOs.
Okay.
Anyway, that's one of the theories, is that they're government agents. Another one which could overlap with the last theory and the next theory is that they're androids. They could be government androids, or they could be extraterrestrial androids, which is the next theory, extraterrestrials. We'll get into that in a
Alien
minute.
robots.
Androids, they could be evidence that might point to this, or extraterrestrials, is that their skin, at least in the modern descriptions, is described to look fake, plasticky, rubbery, waxy, white, and their lips are red. No facial hair whatsoever, or hair at all. They're built very tall, and one thing that stands out is that typically when they come in pairs or multiple, is that they have identical faces. They're identical height, and they're pretty much the same.
Or lack of faces, because you didn't really distract. They're not really faces. They're just like.
No, they're just plastic molds. They're blank canvases.
So basically, they look like you without facial hair. Because you're tall, lanky, and
Yeah.
Generic white man.
generic white man.
Yeah. That's extraterrestrial and androids. Those are two of the theories. Another piece of evidence that could point to those is that they have been described to drive in outdated cars, wear outdated clothes, and use outdated slang, which I thought was a bit odd.
Outdated slang, like where they're talking out of the 40s or something.
Maybe they didn't.
Or it didn't specify. Okay.
But they said outdated.
Outdated.
slang.
Okay, something that wouldn't fit in today.
Yeah, so it could be the robots didn't get the latest update.
They didn't get the upgrades.
Aliens didn't get the memo, or the government, they're just very incompetent, which we all know that's a fact.
Do you want them to knock on the door in a second because they're listening? Stop it.
They're listening before we even put this episode up.
I know, right? They're already listening.
Oh yeah.
They're all listening.
So Bryce, how do you know about the outdated cars and outdated slang? Would you like to tell us?
Oh, it's all on YouTube. No.
Could you elaborate?
The last note I have here on my scribbled notes, simply titled Dan Aykroyd. What a guy. As some people might know, he's a little
I like Dan Aykroyd.
little cuckoo. I love him, but
he's a good actor.
he's a little off that deep end. He's had several UFO encounters. He's had a Men in Black encounter, which we'll get into shortly. He's had paranormal experiences, and he's a crazy guy.
Legend says he thought Ghostbusters was a documentary.
Yeah.
I thought we were doing a documentary.
So Dan Aykroyd was starting a show, basically doing research into UFOs and talking about UFO sightings. And one day, as he's heading to the set, he saw across the street was parked an old Ford, and a tall man dressed in black approached him and told him to not do the show.
An old Ford. Was it a black Ford?
It was indeed black.
Okay.
And the man told him to not do the show. Oh, excuse me. I don't remember if it was days or weeks later, but the show was canceled mysteriously. No reason, just off air.
And the show was for who? Who was he doing the show with?
I don't know.
Maybe it was another Men in Black alien.
Maybe, but yeah, the show never aired, and it was taken off. It was shut down before it ever did. So that's yeah, that was a pretty crazy story.
Yeah, but didn't you also say that he admitted to taking certain types
Oh
of
yeah,
drugs?
if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast with him, he talks about taking DMT and talking to aliens and LSD and stuff. It's a little crazy.
So it's possible
His credibility
he was already out there.
Yeah,
a
his
little
credibility is.
It's fun to talk about though, because I mean, like the possibilities and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all the notes I got for that. Yeah, but this topic kind of interests me because, it's very mysterious. It's all shrouded in mystery, and they're very hush hush about it, and we don't really know what their motives are, who they are, what they are,
Yeah.
or what they're trying to accomplish by suppressing people who've seen this or
Right.
killing them.
And it's funny because it says Men in Black, but most of the incidents, it's Man in Black.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
occasionally been two,
Yeah.
but most time it's just one.
Like in the video.
Yeah, like in the video.
Oh yes, so the only cold hard evidence we have, which could be fake because of a detail that AJ had keenly picked up on. Well, here, I'll let him tell you that in a second. There's a video footage of two men in black walking into a hotel lobby, and they were described by the people who were there as very tall, and as I described earlier, no facial hair, white, and identical faces, which as we can see in the videos, that's what they look like. It's hard to tell, but that's what they look like. So AJ, if you want to point out what you had spotted.
Yeah, also to be honest, they do look like two kids in a coat, kind of tall. Just like
like
it's very ill-fitting.
Yeah,
like
and I saw the video as well.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're right though, like the little rascals, like one on top of the other.
Yeah.
It's ill-fitting, and it doesn't
They definitely look inhuman.
Yeah,
Right.
it looks very awkward.
But the detail I noticed was like at the front, in between the automatic moving doors, there's a mat on top of like a foot mat on top of some tile.
Yeah.
Shiny lobby tiles.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, shiny lobby tiles, and it looks like a giant welcome mat.
Yeah. However, when everyone else walks in, you can see everyone has like reflections on the tile and shadows.
Right.
The Men in Black do not. They do not have reflections on the tile.
Neither of them.
Neither of them have reflections, and also, I don't know if this was just because it's security footage and the camera was not very good, but I don't think they had any shadows either. This could lead to two things.
Yeah.
One, this could be fake.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Unfortunately, I want it to be real. But the second option is that the Men in Black are anomalies and they follow vampire logic
Or holograms.
or hologram.
Yeah, they could be
Ooh,
alien
new
holograms.
theory. Holograms.
Because they didn't touch anyone or interact with them.
No, they didn't.
They're just there and talk.
But so in all these stories that we've gone through, we've discussed how they are interactive with people, and this is not the case.
No, they're very
They're super creepy too. If you guys have a chance to look
God,
on
they're
YouTube,
creepy.
it's creepy.
No, I forgot to mention that story with Herbert, Dr. Herbert. What was that his name? Harold. What was his name? Whatever.
The first one's
The one
Harold.
with the penny that disappeared.
Yeah.
After that trick and after that threat, he had destroyed all of his evidence, gotten rid of everything, and his phone started having problems from then on, which kind of indicates that maybe the phone was tapped. So they had scared him enough to stop all of his operations.
But
years of
they were
research.
like, you think they were like listening in on
Yeah,
him.
I think they were keeping a close eye on him.
I think they made the penny a transmitter, and it went into his body, and it was like listening device.
Like the black copters.
Yeah, like the black copters.
It's gonna burst out of their chest. When
You
it
know,
grows
like
to
the
full
black
size.
choppers, Brown. That was your first story.
That was a good one. Best episode until this one airs.
But what's disturbing about this stuff is like, not just the what ifs. It's just it's so vague. Like
Yeah.
there's like no proof, but there's kind of proof, but not really. It's not good enough proof.
Yeah, one thing I do dislike about this whole story is the inconsistency, because with like the black helicopters, the black chopper episode, there was consistencies through every single story. With this one,
There's
each
so
story
much
is different.
information with the black choppers.
Yeah.
With this stuff, it's just like, oh, I saw something. This is kind of vague. And this year, and I saw one of them. And didn't you even say that one of the last somebody's encounter? They didn't even they introduced themselves as what?
Oh yeah, there's one I forgot to mention that. At one point, they had just referred to themselves as numbers, 9 and 10,
Right.
which kind of
What does that imply?
implies there's more, or that they're androids,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird. That's strange. But one thing I do like to see in these kind of conspiracies is consistency, not only over distance and like geography, but over time. When an encounter from 1947 has the exact same details, exact same as a story from 2020, that's a lot more credible than the differences between these two stories.
Yeah.
You know. So that does really put me down a bit on this whole thing.
Right, but it obviously interests you, or else we wouldn't be talking about it.
Oh yeah,
So-
so I still think it's very interesting and possible that they're just government agents. I honestly think that's probably the case, is that they're government agents and they don't want to cause mass hysteria and
Yeah, but why would they look so freakish? If they were
masks.
just
Have you ever been to a Halloween store and put on one of those fake masks? Maybe they
No.
just do that to hide their identity.
Yeah, maybe. No, I don't do that because I find them creepy.
Maybe they're like anonymous.
Maybe. Maybe they just like put on stilts or something to all be identical heights, so you can't identify them in the wild. And that's why they look weird. And they
Did you
kind
just
of,
say in the wild?
yeah. So when you see them, you're walking down the street like, yo, you're the guy who threatened me and made my penny disappear and made that one guy's heart disappear.
Ooh,
You know.
wow.
So
Yeah,
that's what that's probably what I'm leaning towards, government agents.
got it.
Although I like to believe that there's more evidence pointing to the fact that they're government agents than there are that they're aliens. Because why would they say they're government agents? You know, the government's it's not beyond the government to shut down people for knowing too much.
No.
I mean, they do it to this day.
Well, I
so.
was gonna say, this has been a very interesting talk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna call this popular UFO culture
Mm-hmm.
because we don't really understand it, and yes, it's shrouded in mystery, super vague. But our special guest has been Brown, James Bryce Gant. If you guys haven't picked up on that yet,
If you guys want him for like a job or something,
Don't call me.
we'll also be giving out his social security number
yeah,
Credit
and
card
his
number.
address and his phone number and all that stuff.
and his mother's maiden name.
Just kidding. Yeah. Anyways, but so it's always nice to have these interview episodes, and especially the conspiracy ones,
Yeah.
because I like having a full episode of a conspiracy corner.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely fun, and that's exactly how I consider it.
It just lets you vent all your crazy ideas and
Yeah.
So it lets you kind of be yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, and I will tell you, Brown will be back because he's got a lot of crazy theories. So he'll be
wait till I
back.
start talking about the Hollow Earth.
Yeah, we haven't even started about Agartha.
Yeah,
if that's what
exactly.
it's actually called.
Yeah.
I don't
If it's
even
actually
remember.
Agartha. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just another special episode. And I thank you in advance for listening.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I always say, you got to read the signs, people. You got to read the signs.
Gotta read them.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, thanks AJ for jumping on, and thanks Brown for jumping
Of course,
on.
thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
Sorry it took so long.
Right?
We were planning to do this episode like 10 episodes ago.
It only took 20 episodes to get him back.
Mm-hmm.
That's all good.
Anyways,
But thank you so much.
of course. This is nice to do this episode for the third time.
Thanks so much for listening. I'm Rachel Velis, and this is the podcast, Hell is Not the End.